Hello and welcome to Eyewitness Reports on Channels Television. In this edition, residents of Lekki Gardens Estate, Phase 2 in Ajah, Etiosa local government area of Lagos State, expressed dissatisfaction with the management of infrastructure provided by the estate developer, accusing the company of failing to fulfill promises made at the onset of the estate. In Ogun State, a corporate social responsibility initiative puts a benefactor at loggerheads with some aggrieved members of a Sherry estate community. We have details of these and more in a moment. I am Jomi Otaigbe. Stop making life difficult for us. This statement summarizes the cry behind the pictures and videos of the state of facility in Lekki Gardens Phase 2 estate in Ajah, Lagos State. The situation led to a protest by residents to draw the attention of the developer to their plight.
In a peaceful and organized manner, residents of Lekki Gardens Phase 2 in Ajah picket the management office of Lekki Gardens Estate Limited, located within the estate.
Tired of empty promises. All we are saying. We are tired of sewage spillage and offensive odors. All we are saying. We are tired of bad maintenance and offensive odors.
These residents, representing over 1,000 inhabitants of the estate, are protesting the lack of infrastructure in some cases and the collapse of existing ones in the estate, which has made living uncomfortable.
We are challenged with the infrastructures from flooding, sewage, poor water systems that are not functional. You'll be in your apartment, about 45% of the estate is flooded as we speak, and yet we call its attention, it's not working. Over 75% of the entire estate is faced with sewage overflowing. Sewage is a great hazard. They try to do a couple of things, but it's not functional. We running a facility management in this estate without no office. We've called its attention. This estate originally from design is not to exceed more than 1,700 homes, but we have greater than 2,000 homes in this estate without infrastructures. From the private area, there is no drainage. On island, there is no water facility, no sewage connecting. We have 2 water treatment plants that are not functional.
The protest appears to have been convened after a downpour, as deposits of rainwater resulting from flash flood is noticed on roads within the estate.
Yeah, but what you are seeing here now is not ordinary flooding.
While these rain deposits could easily be overlooked, what is however unusual is that they mix with sewage spillage, according to residents, and this results to environmental hazards. The sewage treatment plant is not working optimally.
What we are facing here is unacceptable standard. The health hazards is so much here. We have flood. What you see here now, this flood you see, is just for some few minutes rain. If it is a day, you will not even be able to stand here. So you have this. And one important thing that you should know, that we want Richard to know, is that it's not ordinary water that you see here. You see water, the flood, mixed with sewage system. So in an estate like this, there is no working sewage system. We don't have sewage system, we don't have drainages, we don't have flood control, and we have our children living in this very place. Every time they fall sick, because of one reason or the other, they are infected with some of this kind of environment that you see. This is not what we paid for. We paid for where our children will be able to have a good living, playground, green field, and a road that is paved up to avoid all of this kind of flooding. But yeah, you can see, even what you are seeing now is a situation where you have a pumping machine that is pumping the water out. and the rain fell for 15 minutes, and we have been pumping for more than 1 hour. This is the level you are seeing now. This is unacceptable.
You can see the sewage treatment plant is not working. What we are standing on at the moment as we speak, I'm standing on fecal material, feces, spillages from drainages and all that. The succor that we have had for some part of the estate as per the flooding system is the canalization that Lagos State recently did. And because of that, the Resident Association also came up with a series of efforts to do a desilting of the channel line. Most of the drainage systems that you see are poorly constructed. Some are unfinished. If you go to their areas, like even when we are staying here in the private area, that the developer are taking so much from for developmental levy, to about 2.5 million and more, and yet they do not have a drainage. And houses are being constructed, so there's no outflow for those kind of. That burden comes to us as residents.
Besides leaking sewage and poor drainage, epileptic power supply is another challenge faced by residents.
Currently, we are struggling to extend the 33 kVA line that we already have here to the island, and that's because we went to EKEDC to see how we can use another corridor to bring in 33 kVA to the people on the island. But unfortunately, EKEDC declined that approval, and we are only left on the self-help of trying to move the 33 line from the current network we have down to the island. As we speak, we have gotten a quotation of a minimum of 12.8, while the highest is 16.8. We are still negotiating. These are infrastructures that if the developer had put in place, perhaps we won't be spending this much. Before then, we already have bought 2 transformers to add to the existing 3. The overhead we have here, or the armored cables we have, there are things that most of we invested. If we've not invested money, we've invested more than 20 million on our own, trying to see how we can salvage or manage the infrastructures we have, power infrastructures we have here.
As evidence of efforts made by the residents to resolve these challenges, series of letters written to the developer are displayed publicly.
Since 2014, when people started occupying this facility, these issues have been on. So over 7 years, there has not been any definite response. So hence we need Richard Young to come to talk with the resident and give them a specific timeline when these projects will be completed.
Well, I've been in this estate since 2016, and since then it's been one issue after the other. So as people, as an individual, we've made several efforts to get the developer to deliver on his deliverables. So at the time we keyed into this project, it came as an off-plan project. So, and then what that means is that we are considered as partners in this development. So we put our money down, invested our money, hoping that all the covenants, the promises that the developer had given us in the sales agreement will come to fruition. Part of it is motorable ways, drainage system, electricity, primary health care facility, schools, amongst so many other things. We had that much confidence in him, and we gave in our best. But along the line, the developer collected his money and could not fulfill his promise. It got so bad that we had to cry out loud, and the wastewater agency really came to our aid, and we had series of meetings. We had tripartite arrangements, and the what's it called now? The conclusion was that the wastewater agency mandated in fact, they found it even the place not suitable, not habitable, and they gave the developer conditions that if you have committed, before you can even build an estate of this size, there are standards you are supposed to meet. Those recommendations were made, and we hope that the developer will align. That happened shortly before the COVID period. So when the COVID started, we had to take a bit of break, hoping that by the time things resolve, they will come back. But at some point, we found out that we are not even getting their attention. We've written series of letters. We tried as individuals, we went in as committees, as residents association, we did not get any feedback. We had to run back to the wastewater agency. The wastewater agency came here for another tour. And when we did the site tour, they found out that yes, the sewage system is in a deplorable situation. So they made their recommendation and gave notices to them. First notice, second notice, up to the point that the agency had to serve them an abatement notice.
While these infrastructural challenges persist, more housing units are being built by the developer.
From where I come, I believe that if you cannot help my problem, please don't complicate it. If you don't have adequate infrastructure, how then do you have the infantry to even build more in a place where the infrastructure is not even adequate for the people that are living in there, you know? So I think we have been patient enough as people. We've tried to express ourselves. We are law-abiding citizens. We do not want trouble. We just want to live our life. And I don't think we are demanding for too much.
The solution to these problems are summarized in a 17-point demand by residents, which include general overhauling of the sewage treatment plant by the developer to ensure optimal functionality, provision of sewage and drainage pipeline layout of the estate, extension of 33 kVA power line, and the provision of transformers to match the new construction being embarked on. More so, residents are requesting the developer to meet with them physically and give a realistic timeline to fix the problems. As at the time of this report, the management of Lekki Gardens Estate Limited is yet to respond to the allegations from its clients. In the wake of the protest, we received eyewitness videos and pictures showing officials of the Lagos State Wastewater Management Office sealing the Estate Management Office. According to the reporter, the action was necessitated by the refusal of Lekki Gardens to respond to letters written to them concerning sewage and drainage issues in the estate.
There's no right. You can stay inside and then they'll lock you in.
It all boils down to what appears to be a breach in agreement between Lekki Gardens Estate Limited and subscribers of its property. Financial transactions between property developers and buyers may just last for a while. This is because the Lagos State government has moved in to regulate real estate practice in the state by inaugurating a 16-man technical committee on real estate regulations.
The way we will succeed to change the rhythm.
The committee's mandate is to design a policy and a framework to institute and promote global best practices in the state to curtail malpractices in the real estate sector while improving financial transparency and fiscal responsibility.
When Mr. Governor came up with the idea of the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, those were the key issues that we looked into. Those were the pressing issues that we needed to deal with: real estate financing, fraudulent transactions in real estate, and how it affects the end user, how it affects the buyer. The Attorney General is going to be leading the legal committee, which is also going to be dealing with issues of fraud, issues around how monies that are coming are being used. So if I pay for a development in Lekki, I expect that development, the money I put into that development, should be used solely for that development and not diverted into other developments. He's going to also be heading that committee that's going to be looking at issues around maintenance, issues around relationships among stakeholders in the industry and in those developments. So it's an all-encompassing work that we're going to be doing here.
Part of the package that comes with this is that, so now we want to put an end to the issue of whereby developers collect people's money and don't deliver on their promises, don't deliver on their bargains. So if somebody puts down money to acquire an apartment, the developer is bound and will be held liable if he doesn't do as agreed with the people who have given him money. We also want to check the incident whereby, people rent one apartment to several people. They defraud people. So it's an entire package, holistic, and it will take care of all the problems. We hope to put all the problems in one basket and address them one by one.
As it is in other mega cities in the world, transparency and governance in the real estate sector has become very crucial, considering increased reported cases of fraudulent activities and unethical practices by some real estate practitioners and property developers in this sector.